I'm just making this video real quick because really trying to get to the bottom of things more and more lately as I'm figuring things out more and more about what's going on with me and my targeting and all this. It's become very clear lately, which I've suspected, that one of the ways that they can track me is that my dentist, he put a GPS tracking chip in my tooth, which I always suspected, like I said in one of the other videos, the way he was acting during the procedure, which was a root canal, just very quiet, not as chatty as usual, pressing down really, really, really hard on my tooth, which didn't make sense. Like, you could tell he was trying to put something in my tooth. Ever since then, after that visit, is when all the targeting really ramped up and people were following me more. So I don't think that's any coincidence, just like I don't think it's any coincidence when I talked to my therapist on telehealth, why she was always wanting to know my location when I was in my car, and then I was wherever I was at the time. When I told her my location, all these people would just show up and start circling me. None of this shit makes sense. It's obviously goes deeper and it's bigger ties to bigger things. And I was when I first started recording, I really didn't understand really what was going on. I just wanted to document the evidence. But this whole time I've been realizing I really just been, I should have been going after the heads of the snakes, but I've just been going after the ass, And I'm tired of going after all the asses because nothing really gets done that way. That's why they use these expendable fuckers, because they're just expendable and they don't really give a shit if they're exposed because their lives are pretty much over anyway. That's why they're doing this. But the people that run this shit, they still have normal lives, They still try to act normal and masquerade. And, it's just funny that, the shit just really comes together, And it's not only the fact that my dentist, the way he acted and the fact that I felt like he put something in my tooth and just the shit that happened afterwards, but it wasn't just that. It was the fact that they didn't follow up anymore after that visit. They didn't follow up with any more. I still have other teeth that might need root canals. I still have cleanings that I go to, procedures every 6 months. They didn't call me in for those anymore. I still had a couple $100, I believe, still left on my bill. They didn't even want that anymore. They didn't even call to collect for that anymore. I think that's just very odd, very odd, kind of suspicious stuff that happens when, after that kind of thing happened, and then all of a sudden they just stop, just ghost me, basically. Why would your dentist office ghost you like that? And especially when you have money left to pay on the bill. So that just doesn't make sense. And one thing that I've also been kind of, just some things that I've been kind of putting together too is that, and this is nothing to do with anti-Semitism, because I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not that way at all, but I don't have anything against Jewish people at all. But there is, some common denominators that do come into focus sometimes, and you got to kind of wonder, the people that run this dentist office are Jewish, father, son Jewish, and I'm starting to think maybe they could have ties to Israeli, government, Mossad, and we know about them. They're the ones behind 9/11. They were the masterminds behind 9/11. Was the Mossad. So, they could be behind this. That would make sense if they were. But no, I don't know. But they obviously are working for getting involved somehow to get paid off to put a chip in my tooth. So that sounds like it's some type of government-related thing there. Or someone with a lot of wealthy resources and, to really pay someone off to do that. And, a lot of these private contracting companies and businesses and also work with government too. So, I think, it's all goes hand in hand. All of it is involved. So that is just very suspicious to me, all of that. And the fact that someone made a comment saying recently that I have a chip in my tooth and it's integrated with the nanofibers that are in my cells to induce auditory noise on all this shit makes me think this is also how they're probably performing V2K and directed energy weapons at me with this implanted in me. So Um, the dots are all connecting now. I mean, I don't know why someone would want to post a comment like that and then delete it the next day. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. So if you're going to post something like that and delete it the next day, there must be some validity to it. Also, too, my old neighbor, one of the neighbors that was spying on me, I mentioned her in my last comment. See, the whole thing, too, with her, I left out her boyfriend. Now, this was another thing that was so fucking weird. Every fucking time, pretty much, she was always out there, but almost every time he was out there with her, too, on his phone, looking at his phone. They're both looking at their phones. And it was just so funny is that they never, ever once looked at each other. I never really saw them communicating with each other. They never looked like they were affectionate with each other. It just all looked staged, like they were a staged couple. It was always just so weird, and they would always be out there. He would always almost be out there with her every time that she was out there too. But it is obvious he participated in the whole thing with her. But I just never have once in my life seen a couple that was just so disengaged with each other, that was just so not interested in each other. I mean, they looked like roommates. They didn't look like a couple. So it's pretty obvious that they are deep state actors working for the government, working for private contracting groups, doing something, working just like the comment too that was deleted, that was said that she works with B2K and had some kind of intermittent device, interface device that was picking up my thoughts and all this shit. That comment just suddenly removed too. And I just think that's funny how that comment's gone now too. It just really is. If you saw it every day when I would leave, the fact that they were just out there looking at their phones every time I saw them, they were never like communicating with each other. One time I actually came home and they had their backs. It was so weird. They had their backs are like against me, facing the wall, and there's this car parked right in front of my house. And then as soon as I pull up and pull in my driveway, the car takes off, and then their backs are still to me, and it's so weird. It's almost like they're trying to ignore the fact that some kind of illegal shit was going on. That the people there were there to gang stalk me, and they were act like they didn't want any part of it. But besides them not acting normal, they had to be so dramatic and turn their backs to me to kind of make it look like, oh, we don't give a shit. So these people are not a real couple. They are not Roxanne Brown, Nick Walters. They're not a real couple. They aren't. They might come across that way with their friends and stuff, but everything about them is so staged, and that's what they do. They get these actors to masquerade as couples, to infiltrate neighborhoods, to gather info, and the only way they could get a chip at me, that would be it. I mean, I don't think these vaccines have chips. I mean, there has to be something, really strategic, something that they really can get in there and do, and that's the only kind of never had any other surgery or anything like that, so that makes sense. Right after that is when all the following of the cars started happening, all the harassment really ramped up. And I just think that's a strange coincidence that that comment gets deleted and all this shit starts happening right after that. So, yeah, just make sure to stay away from Cyclin and DDS. They will implant you. All right. Talk to you later.